Oh. Whew. There we go. That's better. That's good coffee. Okay. Woo. It's hot. Alrighty. A little update. I've been really busy. I have family coming to visit, and there's a lot of stuff I had to do. So that's why I haven't seen a video in a while. That's why I put up 2 videos in 1 week. Also, I'm getting ready to go back up to Oregon to help my friend Kurt with his father's estate, and I'll be doing a lot of videotaping on that. And I know people are going, oh, not another Oregon video. Oh my God. Yeah, but this time I'm going to try to show some of the stuff the guy had stored up. That's basically what it's going to be. And it's not going to be a long video. I'm not going to have a lot of clips of us going and coming. I'll have a couple, but mainly it's going to be when I'm there helping out. And C, I discovered that the greatest views I have on my videos is of my Jeep. So the weather's a little breezy and cold, and I'm in my Jeep out in the breezy cold weather. So, you know, we're doing that. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. I'm going to tell you the story about the black helicopters and the dedicated surgeon. So, thanks for joining me tonight on Tales and Mysteries of the Mojave Patrol. I really appreciate you being here. Tonight, folks, I'm going to tell you the tale of the black helicopters, and I'm going to tell you the tale of the dedicated surgeon. Number 1, the black helicopters. About 15 years ago, maybe a little longer, I can't remember now, I went out to the place we call the bunker to go camping, and it was just going to be me and my friend, whose name will remain out of this right now. I don't need people pestering about it. He was going to meet me there with his youngster, and we were going to spend the weekend out there, do some target shooting and BSing and have some beers and just have a good old time, smoking cigars. Well, I was all set up. I had a campfire going, and my friend was going to meet me the next morning. So, you know, I don't have a problem sleeping out in the desert by myself. I'm well prepared. Well, it was just getting on dark. There was just a little bit of light over the Quebec Hills behind where I was camping. And I heard 2 helicopters coming. I looked around and I didn't see them, but they were coming. And then they came. And they came in low and they came in quick. And instead of going past me, they flew by me a short distance and then whipped around and started circling me. They were about 100 feet out from my camp and about 25 feet in the air. And they were just going round and round and round me. And they were jet black helicopters. As a matter of fact, the only light in the helicopters was the red anti-collision light on the very tail. So they're flying around me, they're flying around me, they're flying around me, and I went into my tent and I got my big spotlight and my SKS, and I started shining my light on them. Well, these helicopters were completely unmarked. Completely unmarked. And the pilots were dressed in black jumpsuits, you know, black pilot's overalls. Completely black. The helmets were black. The doors on the Hueys were open. You could see through them, but there was nobody inside that I can see. But yet these 2 helicopters were circling around me. So I held my SKS in a relaxed manner. I wasn't particularly worried because I didn't see any weapons on these helicopters. When all of a sudden, a 3rd helicopter approached. A Marine Corps helicopter. That's what it turned out to be. One of those fast, sleek-looking gunships, probably an Apache, with the turret on the chin. And it was coming across that desert like a bat out of hell. And those 2 Hueys turned tail and they jammed in a southeasterly direction with that Marine Corps helicopter hot on their tails. And I thought to myself, man, it must be some kind of training mission. Well, they disappeared off to the southeast. I went to my ice chest, cracked open a beer, and I waited up till George Norrie was on, and I listened to him for a while, and then I crawled into bed and went to sleep. Well, the next morning around 8 or 8:30, my buddy shows up with his youngster. And, you know, I help him set up his tent and things like that. We're sitting around talking. And he said, anything exciting happened while you were waiting for me? And I told him the black helicopter story. These cigars are pretty fresh. If you don't keep on them, they go out. Anyway, I told him the black helicopter story. And he turns and looks at me and goes, holy crap. I never see anything cool like that. How come you're the guy that sees all this cool stuff? I said, I don't know, probably just lucky, I guess. So we spent the day target shooting, and, you know, we had a few beers and, you know, made meals, and, you know, we had a great time. He was teaching his youngster how to shoot, and a good time was had by all, as they say. Well, that night, just about sunset, we're sitting around the campfire, and I hear the helicopters come back. The 2 exact same helicopters, at least I think they were the same. They looked the same. Black helicopters, red light on the tail surface, you know, anti-collision light. And they're flying around and around. And my friend, he's totally in awe of this. He's just staring at these helicopters. But his youngster, she wasn't that thrilled about it. She was pretty frightened. But they kept flying around and around, and they were closing that circle. The sand was whipping up. The fire was being thrashed around, embers shooting everywhere. When that Marine Corps helicopter showed up again. Beating feet across the desert. This time coming from a southerly direction. And those 2 helicopters took off north, once again like scalded cats, with that Marine Corps helicopter in hot pursuit. Well, my buddy and I, you know, we sat up, we listened to George Norrie, we talked about the events, we were all thrilled to see black helicopters, you know, because you always hear about that crap. and went to bed. So the next morning I got up and we cooked a really simple breakfast. This was Sunday. We had to take off. So we got my buddy's truck packed up and we got my Wagoneer packed up and all our stuff was inside, and we're just sitting around debating on which way to go home when we held our helicopter coming. My friend says, "Oh, the black helicopters are going to be back in the daytime. We'll get to see them." But it wasn't the black helicopter. It was a Marine Corps helicopter. The same one we saw the other night. The same one I saw for 2 nights. And that helicopter starts flying around us. And then the helicopter is about 50, 60 feet out. He brings that helicopter to a nice, slow stop. He's like 30 feet in the air, maybe lower than that. And he turns his head to look at us. And when he turns his head, that turret traversed and pointed in our direction. And the Marine Corps pilot looks at us, and he's got his gib with the guy in the back, and he does this. And he took off. He was telling us that he had our backs. God bless the United States Marine Corps. And if there's any Marines out there watching us, I got your 6. The story of the dedicated surgeon. This story was relayed to me by a man who was a pharmacist's mate during the Second World War on a U.S. Navy cruiser. During the Battle of Okinawa, the Japanese introduced a new and terrifying weapon that they used against the United States with great effect. And that weapon was called the kamikaze. Young, brave, dedicated Japanese pilots would get into an airplane loaded with fuel, ammunition, and bombs and deliberately try to fly these aircraft into American ships in order to sink them. Well, during this battle, the gentleman I knew who was a pharmacist's mate in the United States Navy was serving on a cruiser that was taking part in the battle when their cruiser came under heavy attack. Well, the ship's surgeon was having a very difficult time, and of course there was more than one doctor on the cruiser. From what I understand, there was only one actual surgeon. They had their hands full taking care of injured and wounded individuals. The cruiser had taken several hits, not just by kamikazes, but I think it had taken a torpedo and several bomb hits. They were ordered to withdraw from the fight, out of the range of the kamikazes. Well, down in the surgical room of the cruiser was a severely injured young sailor who needed life-saving surgery. But the surgeon wasn't sure how to perform the operation correctly. It was beyond the scope of his skill, and he was smart enough to admit that. But one of the other doctors said that on a nearby aircraft carrier there was a surgeon who was familiar with the type of operation that was required. So they set up a radio relay down in the surgery and linked via radio to the aircraft carrier. 3/4 of the way through the surgery, the surgeon on the aircraft carrier was helping, the surgeon on the aircraft carrier was helping direct the surgeon on the cruiser, walking him through the procedures he needed to do. The radio signal was lost. The cruiser surgeon was in a dire position. He wasn't sure how to finish up, but he felt he had to make way as best he can. But after about 1.5 minutes, the radio signal was reconnected, and the surgeon continued giving instructions to the doctor on board the cruiser, and after about another 15 minutes, the operation was completed. And I'm pleased to say, according to the pharmacist mate who told me this story, that the young sailor who was operated on survived. The surgeon on the cruiser thanked the doctor on the aircraft carrier, and the doctor on the aircraft carrier said, "Is there anything else you need from me?" And the doctor on the cruiser said no, and the surgeon said, "It's good, because I have to go now." And that was the end of the conversation. Well, the cruiser makes it back to Pearl Harbor. And, of course, all the wounded are offloaded. And the young sailor who had the critical surgery performed on him asked the doctor if he could thank the surgeon who helped save his life. And the doctor says, "You know, that aircraft carrier is due in here in about a week. When it docks, I'll talk to the surgeon, and I'll make sure I'll send him your compliments." And the sailor said, "Thank you, doctor," and they took him away. Well, a week goes by, and he's informed that the aircraft carrier is going to arrive at Pearl. And the aircraft carrier does arrive at Pearl. But that aircraft carrier is in an incredibly sorry state of condition. It's a miracle it made it back to Pearl at all. Well, the surgeon goes down to the dock. The doctor goes down to the dock to talk to the aircraft carrier surgeon, and he goes on board the ship after he's given permission. And he goes to the officer of the deck, and he says, "I'd like to speak to the ship surgeon, please." And the officer of the deck goes, "Oh, sir, that's impossible. The surgeon was killed during the kamikaze attack." And the doctor says, "Oh my God, that's terrible to hear." So the deck officer goes, "Yes, sir, it was a tragedy. He was giving instructions to a doctor on a cruiser from the bridge when a kamikaze struck the bridge of the aircraft carrier, killing the surgeon and several other men on the bridge." So the cruiser doctor says, "Oh, that's terrible. But at least he finished giving the instructions before he was killed." And the deck officer says, "Oh no, sir. It was right in the middle of the surgery that the kamikaze struck." Apparently, the doctor giving instructions had been dead for about 20 minutes. And yet was still giving instructions over the radio to the cruiser doctor. Kind of gives you chills, doesn't it? The gentleman who relayed this story to me swears it's true. I get a little emotional over these kind of stories. He made me promise not to repeat this story until after he had passed away. And he's been passed away for a number of years now. But as far as I know, that is true. As a quick side note, what do you think about the Pentagon admitting that UFOs are real? Or UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena? What about President Obama? Kind of backing him up. And here's another little tidbit of information. Before the November election, when the government, when Trump was pushing through his stimulus package, which is around 2,000 pages, tucked in the middle of that package was a single sheet of paper ordering the Pentagon to make public UFO records by June of this year. That's coming up here pretty quick. So if any of you have seen the videos, leave your comments below. What do you think? Either they're alien spacecraft, or if they're man-made, who made them? Because China and Russia and England and the United States are really interested in these objects and have set up all kinds of organizations to study this phenomenon. If you believe we're making them, then you have to believe that there is a second shadow government with enough money and resources to build and secretly operate and test aircraft of this type. But then again, I know you're not into conspiracy theories, right? So, UFOs, man-made, or spaceships from another planet or another dimension? Black helicopters, do you think they exist? I know they do. And I know that they are not friendly, because the action of that Marine Corps helicopter tells me that something was going on, and the Marine Corps was trying to do something about it. The dedicated surgeon, did he speak from beyond the grave to try to save the life of a severely injured sailor? The pharmacist mate said he did. He was in the room. He was assisting in the surgery. Well, like, comment, subscribe, click the little bell. Thank you for watching Tales and Mysteries of the Mojave Patrol. And most important of all, watch the skies. Watch the skies.
I bring you a warning. Every one of you listening to my voice, tell the world. Tell this to everybody wherever they are. Watch the skies everywhere. Keep looking. Keep watching the skies.
DuMont, the world's largest organization devoted exclusively to television and electronics. Television receivers, television network, television picture tubes, telecasting equipment, electronic equipment, research. DuMont, first with the finest in television.